Did you ever miss the first button when you were trying to put on a shirt? You know, you miss that first button, you get the other buttons all going in, and then at the very end, you realize it is not aligned. It is not working. Welcome to The Rod and the Staff. This is a podcast devoted to exploring what it means to experience the transforming love and care of Jesus, our Good Shepherd, and to join him as we love and care for one another. I'm Tony Myers. Thank you for joining me. We've got to get the foundational questions right if we're going to have a proper view and practice of church disciplines, like putting a shirt on. If you miss the first buttons, you're not going to get the rest of them right. In the introduction, I mentioned 4 questions that are foundational. What is the gospel? What is a Christian? What is the local church? And what does it mean to be a member of the local church? In the next couple of sessions, we're going to look at these 4 questions. We have to get them right if we are to understand what church discipline is, why we're to practice it, and how we're supposed to. So the first question is, what is the gospel? There's a popular version of the gospel. It exists today. And it goes something like this. Maybe not in these exact words, but it kind of catches this idea. Nobody's perfect. In other words, we're all sinners. We're basically good sinners, though. We're trying. And God is gracious. His love is unconditional. He accepts us as we are. And he seeks to help us to become better people, to help us as we try. In other words, God helps good people become better people. God helps those who help themselves. Now, if this is our understanding of the gospel, you could easily see how church discipline is contradictory to this. And yet this view of the gospel is very prevalent today, though we may not say it out loud even. The false assumption is that love and discipline are contradictory, that God could only be one or the other. He could only either be loving or disciplinarian. And so either God is loving and he doesn't discipline us, or God disciplines us and he doesn't love us. The book of Hebrews, chapter 12, if you read that chapter, you'll see that it utterly shatters that false assumption, this false gospel, if I can call it that. And it uses the illustration of a parent and a child. And it says parents who love their children discipline their children. Listen to these verses out of Hebrews chapter 12. Verse 6 says, "For the Lord disciplines the one he loves and chastises every son whom he receives." Do you catch that? He disciplines because he loves. This is the normal pattern for how God loves his children. Listen to verse 7. "For what son is there whom his father does not discipline?" It's the natural relationship of a loving parent to do that in the lives of their children when necessary. Going on to verse 8. "If you are left without discipline, then you are illegitimate children and not sons." Here it takes the opposite argument. It says, if God does not discipline someone, they're not his child because he doesn't love them. They're illegitimate. A lack of discipline is indicative, actually, of a lack of love. In other words, a God who doesn't discipline his children ever is not a God who loves his children. He doesn't love them. So what if the gospel message isn't what I shared before? What if the gospel message is actually something more like this? That there's a holy God, and that all mankind are sinful, fallen. They're dead in that sin. They're unable to change through their own trying. In fact, they're not really trying at all. They're at enmity with God. They're like Adam and Eve in the garden. They did not come looking for God. They ran and hid from God. But God is gracious. He loves them, unilaterally loves them. He doesn't love them unconditionally. In fact, he loves them conditionally. He loves them contrary to the dead, sinful condition of enmity that they're in toward him. And what if even more than that, he loves them by removing their guilt and penalty of their sins. And he also frees them from the power of that sin. And having freed them, he calls them into holiness. He calls them to live a life of self-discipline and control. What if God, because he loves us, disciplines us? And because he disciplines us, we would know that he loves us. Now, there are innumerable reasons why God disciplines those he loves. We can't go into all those, but Hebrews 12:11 just gives us one. It says, "For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant. But later, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it." What if God disciplines his children because he loves them and wants good things, wants the best things for them? The gospel message is not that God loves us as we are and unconditionally and just leaves us there. It's he loves us contra-conditionally. He loves us when we don't deserve it at all. And he frees us and calls us into something far better. And he loves us too much to simply let us do what we want. He has to discipline us because we are his beloved children.